Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos, and in today's video we're going to talk about what to do during these first 2 weeks of War Within, what I've been doing. You may hear my voice is a little scuffed. I did lose my voice a little bit. Part of the reason there haven't been videos or so many streams over the last couple days, but it's mostly back now, so videos and streams should resume. So let's start off with a list of what to do. First priority, I would say, is leveling any characters that you want to level, or you want to have leveled. It can even be nice to have an extra character leveled that you can then do stuff on without worrying about, consuming limited resources on other characters, such as delve keys. We'll get to those in a little bit of this video as well. So that's one thing that you can do. One thing that can be nice while leveling as well, your first character, of course, has to do the whole campaign. Future characters, you can instead do side quests on to level. And several of the side quests give you reputation. Reputation farming is another thing that you can be doing during these first few weeks that can be pretty useful. The different reps all give different stuff, but several of them will give veteran track pieces of gear in the 1 to 10 range. There'll be somewhere on there where you can get veteran shoulders at Renown 7 with the Council of Dornegal. And then there's also champion track gear that can be gained from the Renown tracks. Such as from the Council of Dornegal at Renown 16, which is potentially feasible to get to either for Heroic or Mythic Week. If that's something that you're interested in min-maxing, that would involve getting quite a bit of rep from most of the available sources, but that is something you can be doing during these first few weeks. Sources of rep, there are lore items all over the world that you can click on. If you search the Khazalgar Lore Hunter achievement, you can get a Wowhead post with a link to all the coordinates of those. There are a bunch of one-time treasures that first time per warband will give you also rep. There are a bunch of rares that give weekly rep. There are a bunch of side quests that give rep with each faction. There are a bunch of world events in each zone that also give rep maybe once a week usually. There are a couple other sources as well. One thing to note is that the Darkmoon Fair is going to be active at the end of this reset and the start of next reset. So in theory, anything that can be saved for the Darkmoon Fair should be, if you're really trying to min-max that. I'm not bothering with that because I don't want to, and I hate it. I hate Darkmoon. I hate min-maxing around Darkmoon Fair, but this is a video that I want to present that option to you. That is something that in theory you should be doing if you are really, really trying to get to the highest possible level of Renown. That is something that is nice. Another thing you can buy is a contract from the auction house. Now, these are pretty expensive on a lot of servers right now, but you can pick up a contract for, if you want these 3-star contracts, better part of 100,000 gold. The 2 stars and 1 stars are a bit cheaper. These are warband wide, and they last you until the end of the reset, and they give you 5, 10, or 15 extra rep with the associated faction as you level it up, or as you do world quest. So in theory, if you're min-maxing Renown, that would also be valuable. You got to decide if that is worth the gold for you. Now let's talk about delve keys and delves in general. One thing you can be doing this week and next week is leveling Bran. That'll make it so that he can maybe carry you a little bit more once the delve tiers go up in the future weeks. Delves also have a thing called bountiful delves. Now, bountiful delves are denoted by this different icon on your map that rotates around, I think, every day, which delves are bountiful. And each bountiful delve, you can do them, but at the end of them, they also have a special chest that can only be opened if you use one of your restored coffer keys. Now, these restored coffer keys, you can earn 4 per week from a set of 7 sources. So the first 4 out of these 7 sources, or 8 sources, I guess, that you choose to do, will give you a restored coffer key, and then any extra ones won't. Those sources are, there's a world event in each zone. In Hallowfall, it's Spreading the Light. In Ringing Deeps, it's the Awakening the Machine event. In the Isle of Dorn, it's the Theater Troupe. And in Ajkahet, it's the weekly, Pact quest thing, which, if you haven't done that yet, that's a quest to, you basically fill the bar. You pick one of the 3 Severed Threads people, you fill the bar, and that's that. So those are 4 there. There's 2 special assignment world quests. One this week is in Ajkahet, by the way, and it only gets revealed after you do a couple of the world quests here, so that's where one of them is. The other's in Hallowfall. I've already done it on this character, but it's up here. And basically the way those special assignments work is you do some quests. Once you've done 3 world quests in that zone, then the special assignment unlocks. So it's kind of like an emissary quest, except slightly different way of doing it. And those are pretty nifty. Those also can give you a key your first time each week. The weekly quest from Dornegal that says, hey, pick one of these 4 things to do, that will give you a key as well at the end of it. And then there's also events called World Soul Memories that you can find out in the world. Those require a currency that comes from the Bountiful Delves to actually activate. But those also, I think, count for giving you keys too. So farming some keys is a good idea. Spending them this week, I don't think is a good idea, or next week is a good idea, because Delves only go up to tier 3 this week. But starting on September 10th, the week that the Heroic Raid opens, if you can do the tier 8 Bountiful Delves then, the chest will give Champion Track gear, and the weekly Vault Progress will be for Hero Track, actually pretty decently high Hero Track gear. So that is a really good thing to do, is to accumulate, 8 or more keys so that you can blast a bunch of those at the start of Heroic Week. I do recommend doing that. You could do 1 or 2 of the Bountiful Delves this week or next week. You may be able to get some rep from the end of them. That might be weekly. The best possible min-max for that would maybe be to do it on an alt you don't care about. Spend the keys on Bountiful Delves these weeks on that character that you don't care about, and then get the account-wide rep during Darkmoon Fair. That's probably the most min-maxy way that you could handle that if you wanted to. There are also some world quests will give you these, look at my beautiful bags, these coffer key shards, which if you get 100 of these, you can get an extra key as well. So I think there's been 50 or 75 so far that have been available on the NA servers. Maybe I missed one though. So you can get an extra key or 2 here or there from doing those world quests. Okay, other stuff. Gearing. First of all, there are those veteran track pieces that you can potentially be ready to buy already from these factions. Now, gearing will cost you resonance crystals, which you can get from a variety of sources, quests, the campaign, many of the world events. One of the best ways to get a bunch of resonance crystals quickly is to do all the dragon riding races. If you do all the dragon riding races around all the zones on all 3 difficulties and you get gold on all of them, you'll get a hefty chunk. We're talking I think 7,000 crystals from that. And you can do that on a fresh alt, and then you can warband transfer from that alt to your character that you want the crystals on. So if you really want to min-max resonance crystals, that's probably the fastest way to do it. But it's also the cringest, especially doing it more than once. Doing it once, just do all the races. That's sweet, that's cool, that's fun. Doing it for 15 different characters is something that, Liquid and Echo, I think, are up to right now. And you should not subject yourself to that, probably. You probably don't need to. But getting some resonance crystals on an alt and transferring it to your main may be something that you're interested in doing through whatever method is the least annoying for you to do that. Or maybe also sending it the other way. If you get enough good gear on your main, then you can send some crystals to your alt, and they can buy veteran and champion track gear eventually from the Renown vendors with that. There's also a bunch of stuff you can buy from the auction house, a bunch of gear you can buy from the auction house. They've been tuning the different Darkmoon decks, but there are Darkmoon decks that are pretty good. Vivacity is one that they just nerfed, but it's still good. Still a fine item that you can pick up. There's a couple of different Darkmoon decks, and they're pretty cheap as well. Because if you're a scribe, the cards just drop so much. So yeah, you can see these 577 Darkmoon decks are a couple thousand gold. You get 2 577 trinkets that way. But you can also just peruse the auction house in general. And see, getting yourself 564s can be pretty cheap in a lot of different slots. Getting a little bit higher, a little bit more expensive, but it's still something you might be worth it for you. You can also get 571 Adventurer 1 gear from Heroic Dungeons. Now, there was a patch note that Blizzard put out that said they were going to change this to Explorer 4 out of 8 gear. My belief is that patch note was an error. And that they did the opposite of that on the Monday before they launched the expansion. And they just put it in the patch notes now. And then they also messed up the patch note. That's my guess for what's happened there. But I could be wrong. So it's possible that Heroics will start dropping 567 Explorer 4 out of 8 gear instead of 571 Adventure 1 out of 8 gear at some point. But as of the time of recording this video, they're still dropping 571 Adventure 1 out of 8 gear, which upgrades all the way up to 593, using weathered crests. Now you get a bunch of weathered crests beyond that ignore the season maximum from the Renown. So that's another thing that the Renown gives you, is a bunch of extra crests. You can use this pretty freely. Use your weathered crests, send them on good pieces. If you really want to min-max, you can also purchase an enchanted weathered Harbinger crest. So you use your weathered crest to buy a nascent weathered Harbinger crest. Then you work order it to become an enchanted weathered Harbinger crest. And then you can use that as an optional reagent. And if the crafter 5-stars your piece, it'll be 590 item level. Now the big news there is that it actually costs you 45 weathered crests to upgrade to 590, but it only costs you 30 weathered crests to craft at 590. So if you really want to min-max, the best possible way to do this is to get an adventure track piece in every slot, craft a 590 in every slot, and then upgrade the adventurer piece in every slot to 593, saving 15 crests each time because you're getting a discount up to 590, and that only cost you 30 instead of 45 because of the crests, because you crafted with it. If that sounds stupid and you hate me right now, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You're going to have more weathered crests than you know what to do with. You're going to not need this resource at all in a few weeks, pretty much regardless of what level of game you play at. So don't feel bad about spending weathered crests on anything. If you want to be a little bit stingy with it, focus on weapons, chest pieces, good trinkets, pants, helmets, shoulders, before stuff like bracers, belts, gloves, if you really want to be, min-maxy with it, and if you're worried that you're going to be short on them. But realistically, weathered crests, you're going to have more than enough of. Even carved crests. I'm not spending any carved crests these couple weeks because I don't want to. There's no need to, right? There's no content being done these weeks that I need the extra item level for on anything. So if I can, for instance, get a champion track piece from a Renown thing, I'm not going to spend any extra carved crests on it. But realistically, these things are like Drake's crests were in Dragonflight. Very quickly, you outgrew those if you were doing Heroic Raid or High M+. So definitely use them rather than just have them sitting in your bags. If you can get a good weapon, chest piece, something like that, to spend them on, I recommend. Okay. Other stuff. There are a couple of treasures around the world. Like in here, there's one you can find. I think it's around here. Yeah, like in the little cave over here that have like trinkets that you can pick up. They're like treasures that are 571 trinkets and stuff. So there are a few things like that you can find out and around in the world. There is a veteran track warbound polearm that I'm hearing rumors of that apparently drops from rares in the city, but also you can get it in the City of Echoes from mobs in there dungeon, and you can get it even on follower dungeon mode. So if you want, you could maybe farm Arakara follower mode, maybe to level an extra character, and maybe you get this warbound polearm drop. It doesn't have a primary stat on it, so you could use it on, Blood DK, Feral Druid, Serve Hunter, Fury Warrior, maybe Arms Warrior, maybe. I don't know. Like any two-handed polearm enjoyer potentially could use this. It's a veteran track weapon, which is pretty high track. Apparently, it's maybe bad stats or bad effect, so maybe it's worse than the item level would suggest. But that is another thing that I've been hearing rumors of lately. The other thing you could be doing with your time is professions. There are a bunch of useful things you can get from professions, and you can farm a bunch of profession knowledge. You can go and collect all of the one-time profession knowledge treasures, which in the description I'll have a link to a Wowhead post that tells you where those all are. And you just fly around, put all the waypoints on your map, fly to each of them, and then get the profession knowledge. Crafting one of every recipe, work ordering a treatise, which is, I have on this character. Yeah, these are treatises. Scribes create these. I've created a bunch of them on this character because I was learning how to make all of them. So I have 34 treatises on inscription, but you can use one of these per week to gain a point of knowledge. Doing the patron work orders as well is quite lucrative. So if you are crafting, definitely make sure you've checked that patron tab of your work orders. A lot of them have special rewards that are really quite good as well. You can get a bunch of extra knowledge from that too. So getting your professions ramped up can be a good thing. I think you can even craft embellished pieces without using the sparks. Just craft embellished 593s or 590s or whatever. So those going into Heroic Week, that could be, I guess, the most geared you could be at the start of that week. Most of this stuff you're going to upgrade out of very quickly once Heroic and Mythic Week actually begin. So we're talking about a lot of min-max here for not a lot of reward, right? This is like how in the world you can have a pulley or a lever that involves exerting a small amount of force and then a large effect happens somewhere? This is like the opposite of that. This is like you're exerting a large amount of effort on your character to get a small reward that will be replaced quite quickly into Heroic and Mythic Week. So particularly if you're playing one character and you're in a guild that plays one character, I mean, there's not much else to do besides just getting all this gear, get it up to 590. But if you fail to do that over these couple of weeks, it's not going to hurt for very long. You're going to replace these things very quickly. You can get better gear out of M0s, which will open up on September 10th and drop 593 veteran track gear. I believe baseline. Yeah, 593 veteran track gear baseline out of M0s. The normal and heroic raid will be open, which drop champion and hero track gear respectively, which is going to trivialize all of this gear that we're talking about from these first few weeks. So definitely don't worry too much about any of this stuff if you don't want to. But if you are looking for stuff to do that is maybe a little bit useful, then those are those things. Again, top priority is just leveling any character that you like and that you want to play. Now is a great time to do that. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any tips or suggestions. Another thing, I guess, one quest that has maybe dodged a lot of people's attention, Rolling Down in the Deeps, comes from the Ringing Deeps hub. Collect 10 wax for 1,000 rep. That's a good one to make sure that you pick that one up as well if you like rep, which I do. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any tips or suggestions down in the comments below as well. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.